What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. Welcome to our daily show where we discuss everything you need to know about here on a daily basis, including your money, investing in the stock market, and could there be a third political party? And this comes as recent polls show that a large majority of people don't want to vote for both current President Biden and former President Donald Trump. Well, that kind of leads to this. Yeah, a third US political party has now emerged. That's right. Yeah, former Republicans and Democrats have formed a new third US political party. Dozens of former Republicans and Democrat officials announced here that a new national political third party to appeal to millions of voters they say are dismayed with what they see as America's dysfunctional two party system. The new party is called Forward, and whose creation was first reported by Reuters, will initially be co chaired by former Democratic presidential candidate Andrew Yang and Christine Todd Whitman, the former Republican governor of New Jersey. They hope that the party will become a viable alternative to the Republican and Democratic parties that dominate U.S. politics, founding members told Reuters. Party leaders will hold a series of events in 24 cities this autumn to roll out its platform and attract support. They will host an official launch in Houston on September 24th and the party's first national convention in a major U.S. city next summer. Interesting. The new party is being formed by a merger of three political groups that have emerged in recent years as a reaction to America's increasingly polarized and gridlocked political system. The leaders cited a Gallup poll last year showing a record two-thirds of Americans believe a third party is needed. Wow. The merger involves the Renew America movement formed in 2021 by dozens of former officials in the Republican administrations of Ronald Reagan, George H.W. Bush, George W. Bush, and Donald Trump. The Forward Party, founded by Yang, who left the Democratic Party in 2021 and became an independent, and the Serve America movement, a group of Democrats, Republicans, and independents whose executive director is former Republican Congressman David Jolly. Now, Andrew Yang, here's an article from Forbes, became famous when he did his presidential run, when he proposed a universal basic income system for the country for low-income people of the United States. He proposed a $1,000 universal basic income program, $1,000 a month forever. Yeah, here's what Andrew Yang has to say about this new political party. Check this out.
Dozens of former Republican and Democratic officials are announcing a new national political third party called Forward. In an op-ed in the Washington Post, key members write their goal is to, quote, build a new unifying political party for the majority of Americans who want to move past divisiveness and reject extremism. Our next guest co-wrote the op-ed, Andrew Yang, former Democratic presidential candidate, and Christine Todd Whitman, former EPA administrator and the former Republican governor of New Jersey, both with us now. Okay, Governor, to you first, and I'm going to challenge you guys on this because this so rarely works. So why will your effort work?
Well, we're in a different time.
Well,
right
the
now.
appetite.
You have vested in 50%.
Oh, go ahead, Christine.
50. Okay. I said when you have 50% of the American people saying that they are registered independent, or the voters, of registered voters, or voter independent, people are sick and tired of what they're seeing in Washington and the fact that nothing major is getting done. It's frustrating them. We have big problems, and we want to see them just resolved. And so we need to get back to a time when people will talk to one another. And we're talking about bringing people together. You can keep your party label, Republican, Democrat, Independent, it doesn't matter. But let's work together to solve problems. Let's elect those candidates who understand that our electoral process is the best in the world and it's secure. And we need to pick those candidates who will say, I'll work across the aisle because I want to get things done.
So, Andrew, I want to correct myself. I said it so rarely works. It actually has never worked, just to be very clear. So let's talk about some of the obstacles here. And one might actually be the policies, where, because look, there are significant differences policy-wise between Democrats and Republicans. What are your policies going to be that you can actually agree on?
62% of Americans now want a third party, a record high, because they can see that our leaders aren't getting it done. And when you ask about the policy goals, the fact is the majority of Americans actually agree on really even divisive issues. The most divisive issues of the day, like abortion or firearms, there's actually a common sense coalition position on these issues and just about every other issue under the sun. The tagline of the party is it's not left or right, it's forward. And when you think about what that would mean on each issue, actually the policy becomes pretty clear when you just ask the American people. The American people are fed up by the fact that our leaders aren't actually responsive to the needs or the will of communities around the country.
So, Governor, let's take that issue. Guns, for instance. If what would the policy be that would unite enough people to make a third party successful?
Well, first of all, understand what we're going to be doing is holding a series of listening sessions basically around the country to talk to people about that very issue. But I can tell you right now that you've seen in every poll, the majority of the American people believe there should be some kinds of restrictions, a waiting period. There should be a background check. Frankly, you don't want to put guns in the hands of people who've had no training. So people would like to see some training. Those are the issues around which we can coalesce. We're not going to solve everything. We're not going to solve everybody's problem, and you're not going to make everybody happy because, as you rightly point out, there's a great deal of division on some of these issues. But when you start peeling back that onion, it's amazing how much common ground you can find, and then you have a position from which to move forward. And that's what we need to do. And once you start that process, there's going to be no stopping it, quite frankly.
Andrew, guns, some agreement in Congress recently on this. Is that not enough?
Well, when you talk about the need for a political realignment, the fact is Abraham Lincoln won as a third-party candidate with 39% of the vote. We can all tell that this system is failing the American people. 88% of Americans think we're on the wrong track. We know that polarization is just getting worse, not better. Leaders like Governor Whitman have crossed party lines, and that's exactly what the American people want to see more of. The fact is this two-party system is disintegrating before our eyes and is uniquely subject to authoritarianism. Because if you have one of the two major parties head down a dark path, the entire system can go dark, which is not the way other democracies function, and it's not the way the founding fathers imagined our country functioning either.
Different party system, though, right, over time. Governor, how do you get past the issue of closed primaries? I mean, that is key if you're going to make any sort of third party successful rather than just a spoiler.
No, that's absolutely true. And it is a challenge, but it's happened before. We've gotten on the ballot. I was part of a process, oh gosh, now it must have been 12 years ago, where we were able to get on the ballot in enough states to get the requisite votes in the electoral college to qualify for the debates, which is one of the things you want, the sanctioned debates. But you can do it. It's not going to be easy. We're not saying that this is going to happen overnight. This is something we're going to be working on. But we believe and really know that there's a hunger in the American people for something else besides what they're being given. And what we're saying is, we'll give you an alternative. If you're interested in this, get in touch with us. Get in touch with us now. Let us know. We can build coalitions in your community, start talking about these issues, and let's move forward. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, so let me know your thoughts here. Not left, not right, but forward. I thought it was interesting. He said Abraham Lincoln won as a third party, and with 39% of the vote. Do you think it could work? Would be interesting. I think a third party would be really good here in the United States if they could overcome the power of the two parties. That's the hardest part to overcome, would be the power of the money and the influence of the two party system. I think it would be really good though to have a third party And I like what they're saying there is that how do you come over some of these really polarizing issues of gun safety and because you have some people who say oh no restrictions on guns, no anything, I don't just guns are rights, and then you have other people who say you shouldn't own a gun at all, and then you have the a lot of people. How do you find an answer to that? And their answer would be poll the American people, ask the American people, just do a whole bunch of answering or questioning and listening, and find out what the average everyday people want. And there's your answer. And I like that answer. Go with the most common average answer. Poll thousands and thousands of people and find out what the average person wants. And when you see that 60-70% of Americans want like she said, and this is what poll after poll after poll after show, some gun safety. You know, we're not talking about taking guns away from every American. It's literally impossible. There's over 400 million guns in the United States. There's more guns than there are Americans. I don't think that, the vast majority of people don't want to take away the Second American's rights or the Second Amendment right. But what we do want to see, what I think most Americans want to see, and this is what polls show, is that we want to rein it in a little bit. Um, we want to cut down on the shootings in schools. We want to try to figure out a way going forward. A lot of people don't think that assault rifles, I get that that's kind of a slang term almost. A lot of people, including military veterans, I've seen a lot of comments in the comment section, don't feel that those should be in the hands of civilians, especially without training. Especially without training. And you could let me know your thoughts here on that. But a lot of people, in fact, a majority of people, feel that that should be in use on the battlefield and only on the battlefield. Um, I mean, maybe at the gun range. I mean, maybe that's something you could have at the gun range only. Something like that. Maybe gun ranges have it. Or something like that. I could see maybe something like that. But the problem is that when you look at these shootings, is that you're seeing a lot of these shootings. They're having those. That's what they're using. And that this is becoming a problem you know Same thing with the abortion issue. You have a lot of people that are no, a lot of people that are yes, or pro-life, pro-choice, and maybe there's a common ground where we can find it. You have a lot of states that are they're no abortion with no exceptions. And we just read a recent poll here that showed only 10% of Americans, 1 in 10, are actually for um, no abortions with no exceptions. So no exceptions for rape. Only 1 in 10 Americans are for that. So we know that the famous story here that just happened, and this probably happens, pretty frequently here, um, rape and stuff like that. The 10-year-old girl from Ohio who it did happen to. It was a real story. The guy was arrested. Okay, and even the attorney general had to kind of walk back his words, saying there was no evidence of that even happened. And then, like, literally like a day or two later, they arrested the guy, and then he said, "Oh well, thank God they arrested the guy." And he was like, "Well, just a day or two before that, he was saying there was no evidence that it even happened." And then they arrested the guy, and he was like, "Well, yeah, I kind of got to walk that one back." Um, but the problem here is that there's a lot of states where there's literally no exceptions. The other exception here is for medical emergencies, like literally ectopic pregnancies where a woman could die. The other issue here is that when you have a miscarriage, my wife had a miscarriage before we had our son, and for lack of you know getting a little graphic here or anything like that, everything didn't come out after the miscarriage, and she had to go. Yeah, sometimes they give you medication for that, and now they're banning the medication for that. And if everything doesn't come out naturally, you can and or will die because it gets clogged up in there. It's septic. You'll go into septic shock and die. So she had to actually go to an appointment, and the doctor had to help her. And now they're, because of certain states have that ban. I don't even know what's going to happen going forward now that this is like illegal in some states. You may have to, and again, this is from a miscarriage. From a miscarriage. And again, we were trying to get pregnant. Okay. So we were trying to get pregnant. She had the miscarriage. It was a really sad story. My wife's literally still, whenever she thinks about it, she almost gets into tears almost every time. It's, literally a sad part of her life. But then a few months later, we got pregnant again and had our son Julian. But the problem is that women could die just from a miscarriage because they can't get the proper medical treatment now because they're not allowed to. And this is why 1 in 10 Americans are, or 90% of Americans, maybe is a better way to say it, don't believe that that should be the case. If a woman has a miscarriage, they should be able to get the proper medical treatment to treat them so they don't die. If they have an ectopic pregnancy or a pregnancy, where it's in the fallopian tube and stuff like that, they need to get the proper treatment to treat it. The problem is that some of these laws that have passed are just way kind of out of touch. The laws that were passed by the Republican congressman, because the Republicans are the ones that passed it. That's fair to say. It's not really an opinion or anything like that, and weren't really voted on by the people per se. If you look at what the people want, it's more of a in the middle type of thing, and that's where like maybe a third party could say, well, let's find a compromise here, even if we do want to, if find a middle ground, find a middle ground. This is where like the tough issues going forward. Um, Maybe there's a way to please more of the masses here, so that we don't have women dying from miscarriages and ectopic pregnancies and all these different things here. Um, I know that it's a really tough issue. We got a lot of tough issues going forward. A lot of tough issues going forward. I also had a recent video here about term limits in the Supreme Court. I think the problem we're going to have with that is that Democrats are going to vote yes and Republicans are going to vote no. The only reason for that probably is because Republicans have the majority now. But we know that just recently Democrats had the majority. Again, the Supreme Court changes all the time. So we can't really think about it as a Democrat Republican thing now because the Supreme Court changes. Okay. The more important issue is that, do we want Supreme Court justices to serve for 30 or 40 years when they're not even really elected by the people? You can't vote on a Supreme Court justice, can you? No, you can't. And they're surely not reelected. Like even a congressperson, a congresswoman, a man, they're not, you can go vote on them every 2 years. A Senate person is voted on every 6 years. A president's voted on every 4 years. Supreme Court justice, you can't vote on them at all. That's an issue. That's an issue. At least a bill like this would have that they can only serve a maximum of 18 years. So we have a lot of issues with our system. A third party political party, if they could get it to work, could fix a lot of issues, or at least put pressure on the other parties to maybe reel it in a little bit and say, well, we can't just vote no on everything the other party wants all the time, because now there's another party, or at least there's pressure of another party that would make us say, well, we have to have some action in Congress. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. So make sure to subscribe down below to our YouTube channel. It's completely free to do so. New videos come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure to click the bell icon after you subscribe so you get notifications, and I will keep you up to date here with everything going on here in our country. You can click here to see the deal that Senator Joe Manchin just made, and you can click here to see the stock trading, maybe insider trading potential that Nancy Pelosi just made, which is crazy. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.